Hey, my inky crafty friends, it's Haley Dyer, the Inky Scrapper, coming to you live this Thursday, March 19th. Hello, I hope you're doing well. I'm so happy to be here with you again. Whoops, I just knocked over some of the stuff I have around my messy desk. Let me just check and make sure that I see that we are indeed live. There we go. Good. So this view isn't the greatest of this little treat box that I want to share with you. Let me get, okay. I go live with my phone up above my table and then I watch on my laptop beside me. So that's what I was trying to get ready. I know that I showed these cards last time that I was live. And so I have this cute little treat box that doesn't look that cute from this angle. So I'm going to lay it down flat and bring it up to the camera. This just uses white cardstock. It's a little bunny treat box. And I want to show you how to make this. Of course, you could make it with different colors. You could really go crazy. So I saw this online and didn't see any directions for it, just this kind of general idea. And I was like, I want to do that. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to set this to the side. It's yummy treats. And what I have are two 1 1/4 by 12-inch strips of white cardstock. And I have a panel, and I've forgotten my measurements, honestly. So it measures 4.5 by 6 inches. I do remember that. So it's 4.5 by 6 inches. And I'm going to grab my paper trimmer with the scoring blade. I'm only going to use the scoring blade and not the cutting blade. And I'm going to start out with it 4.5 inches wide. You'll notice that the treats have fallen out, but I made a fairly narrow box. It's 1.5 inches deep. So that's what we're starting with. That's where I got the 4.5 because I knew I wanted a 1.5 inch back, base, and front. So with that 4.5 inches, I'm going to move over 1.5 inches, which is 3 inches on my cutting guide, trimmer, whatever, and I'm going to score at 3 inches. Half of 3 again is 1.5 inches. And so I'm going to score right there. Now I'm going to turn 90 degrees, and I wanted my box to be 3 inches wide. So I added 1.5 inches to each end. So basically the 6 inches, I'm going to score at 1.5 inches. Going to turn it again 180 degrees. And score at 1.5 inches. And that's the basis for my box. So I've got all those score lines. Let me hold them up and see if you can, really not sure how well you can see those, but they're there. So I'm going to go ahead and fold along all of them. These are all mountain folds, the way I've scored them. So I'm folding them all down away from me to make them all mountain folds, all 4 of them. Alrighty, so the next thing I'm going to do now to make the box is I've got to trim these little flaps. So I'm going to grab my scissors and just carefully cut 2 that are parallel side by side, and the opposite 2, again, twisted 180 degrees, and snip, careful, and snip. Again, I'm using those folds as my guide. Now, I will say, one thing I wish I had done differently, I don't like that this end flap is on the outside, and that you've got that little gap-ish thing there. It's not that obvious, but I'm going to make sure that I fold the inside up and then the folds will be on the long side. I hope that makes sense. This is where a picture's worth 1,000 words for sure. So this is my little box. I am going to use some of our liquid glue. I think it makes it go a lot faster and gives a good finish. So a little across the top and a little here and a little there. So I'm going to bring that left side up and over, and then that right side up and over. I'm just going to hold for a few seconds to let that set. If you're worried about it, maybe some clothespins are helpful to just pin that in place. Okay, so this is going to be the front of my box. It's kind of important because that's the side I'm going to fold last, but I'm going to do the same thing. A little bit here on that flap. A little bit harder to open this flap. And careful, this flap. So again, the right side here is the front of my little bunny box. So I'm going to hold that in place for a moment. And now I've got a nice little folded finish versus this side with the edge. So that's the back of my bunny box. Now you can make your box different dimensions. These are just the sizes that I chose. Again, I started with a 4.5 by 6 inch piece of cardstock and I scored all 4 sides at 1.5 inches. Close that up for now. And I'm going to grab these 2 strips to make my little bunny ears. Again, you can try different dimensions. The first set that I made, I didn't like. I liked this ratio better, but again, if you like something different, by all means go for it. I took this 12 inches and divided it into thirds, so I scored it at 4 inches and turned it around and scored at 4 inches or 8 inches. Just easier to turn it rather than pull out that arm. So 4 and 8. You could do 5 and then, what is that, 7, so maybe 3.5. I didn't try that, but you could certainly try that and see if that ratio, if you prefer that. Alrighty, so 4 inches. Hey Judy, I'm glad you're here. I'm making this little bunny treat box. And I think it's pretty cute. It just uses a little cardstock. Of course, you could change the colors. You could use pattern paper. Sorry, that was really loud. Okay, so both of these 1.25 by 12 inch strips were scored at 4 inches from each end. I'm just going to fold them down, mountain folds again. And now I'm going to make a set of bunny ears. I'm going to put some adhesive, some of my Stampin' Seal on the end, the far top end in this case. I'm going to bring it down, and instead of doing it flush against that fold, I'm going to bring it up just a little so that there's a bit of a curve. That's intentional. That's going to help my little ears. I'm also going to fold that out to make my ears. So that's one ear. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, both of those scores are at 4 inches. So this is identical. I like the Stampin' Seal better for this than the liquid glue just because it's got a permanent bond really fast. So again, I didn't line it up exactly. I brought it up just a little so that it forces it to curve, and then I'm going to make that other side curve. The next step is to bring those two together at that fold. So for one ear, I'm going to put my adhesive right at the very bottom and then up maybe, what, half an inch? Maybe that's an inch, I don't know. Can you see? And on this side, I'm going to put the adhesive kind of across the middle between the two. Okay. Now I've got to be pretty precise with trying, sorry if you see the top of my head, getting the folds together and oops, adhering that together. Okay, so there are my little bunny ears. And so the last step is to adhere my bunny ears in the box. Let me get those folds going again. So rather than trying to put Stampin' Seal right here at the top of the box, because that's just a little bit too hard, I'm going to use some liquid glue, just kind of in the middle, across the top, and some Stampin' Seal across the bottom. Now this is where I'm really glad that I have a table to work at, because I'm going to fold that part down and off my table edge to be able to add that right here. And then I'm going to hold those ears. I'm going to place one side down in the box. I'm going to pinch that because of that liquid glue, and the other side down in the box and give that a good pinch. I'm not worried about the ears flopping right now. I'm just going to hold that. I want it, again, if you need to walk away quickly, some clothespins would be really helpful. But let me turn this and straighten those ears up just a little bit. Give them a little push. And now we've got a cute little bunny ear treat box. If you wanted to, you could, of course, add maybe a little pink triangle of cardstock for a nose, or even draw one on. And I think it'd be fun to add some thin, really thin strips of gray cardstock to make some whiskers. Or you can just leave it plain like I did with my first one and add a few sweet treats. So I hope you like this idea, and if you are inspired to recreate it or make something similar, please feel free to post in the comments. I'd love to see what you make. So again, a fun little cardstock Easter Bunny treat box. Thanks for watching. Next week, next Thursday, I am planning to make, I got my little prototype here, a new to me cross card just in time for Easter. So this is just my little prototype practice, and I will share that in detail next Thursday. So again, thanks for watching, whether you're live. Thanks for watching Judy Live. And if you're watching on replay, be sure to comment #replay. And if you're inspired to make one of these little boxes, I would love to see them here. Again, I did a 4.5 by 6 inch base for my box and 1 1/4 by 12 inch ears, but you could play around with different sizes, of course. But I did find that with a little Easter grass, this easily held 3 little sweet treats. You could always go bigger or go smaller. So again, happy early Easter. Thanks for watching. Take care, and be sure to get inky. Sorry. Thanks, y'all. See you later. Bye.